Hello, Chessies. We are here doing a special interview with Andrew Francis, who plays Connor O'Brien on Chesapeake Shores. Don't go anywhere.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hello, Chessies. Welcome back to AfterBuzz TV. We are here doing a special interview with Andrew Francis. I'm your host, Marissa Serafini. Joining me, I have
Carlina Will. I'm so ready for this.
Yes, this is really exciting.
Yes.
Unfortunately, Tay and Julana cannot join us, but don't worry, we're going to have a great time because we're speaking to Andrew Francis, who plays Connor. So lovely to grace us with his presence via Skype. Hi, Andrew.
Hey, I'm honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for joining us. Okay, so first of all, I have to say congratulations on season 3.
Thank you very much.
And your characters. You've had a great storyline so far this season.
You're telling me. Blessed.
Yeah, absolutely. So now this is the third season you've now been involved. How different would you say this season is compared to like the first and second?
Well, speaking for my character, Connor, leaps and bounds and lifetimes and a lot of maturing. When I first went in for the role, like the pilot was actually done, my character Connor and Brendan's character Kevin was actually 2 other actors were used for the pilot. And when they decided to go to series, they decided to recast and find someone that kind of molded into the family a little bit more. And when I first did my very first audition, I was shooting a movie for Hallmark called Mismatched. And I had to miss the audition, so I put an audition on tape. And I guess the character was a little bit too light. They wanted to make sure that I had edge. And so I put on another audition with a little bit more edge because Connor, as most of you know, really starts with that chip on his shoulder with his mom, with his dad, and with all of his family. So in the first season, he sort of came to terms with himself and sort of finding out what he wanted to do and where he wanted to take his life. And then that sort of manifested in helping Abby with the custody battle with Wes. Then in season 2, he started to find out what he really wanted to do as a profession and who he is as a grown-up, per se. So he started working for the man. He figured that wasn't exactly what he wanted to do. He wanted to be more closer to nature, something that felt better in his heart. So he started working for Uncle Thomas. And then in season 3, I think that all of that maturing sort of came to the surface, and he was able to, for once, give advice to his sisters, to take advice from his dad, to take advice from his mom. And really, I mean, I think he's come such a long way, and it's been such a pleasure being able to have these not only season arcs, but now over 3 seasons have this gigantic arc and see this character come from this chip on his shoulder type guy to now this person who really is learning to love and learning to accept and let go of the past and move forward and really be a part of the family.
Yeah.
All right, Andrew, I have to ask about Connor and Danielle's relationship. Can you?
Oh no, are you talking? You may have skipped out. I can't hear you.
Okay. I think we're.
So we're bringing up with this newest season.
Sorry, you're back.
We're back?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
With this newest episode that just aired and that we just talked about, Danielle came back into the picture of Connor and Danielle.
Mm-hmm. So I'm just interested to see your thoughts on Connor and Danielle's relationship.
Well, I mean, it definitely hurt Connor when Danielle was keeping things from him. She didn't go too far, and that's why it wasn't as big of a blow up, I guess, as you could say. And, it was when I was talking with the writers and stuff about sort of his connection with Danielle and their relationship, it started sort of one-sided, like she was leaving him and he was sort of going to be left and feeling very sad about that kind of thing. But we sort of came to the agreement that Connor really didn't know if it was working as well. And that sort of a little hints of that were given at the start of the season that, and I think in the actual breakup scene when we're outside, when Connor approaches Danielle sort of by surprise and he says, I really want to be honest with you. I don't even know what this is. So they both sort of were on unsure ground, I guess you could say, and they needed a little bit of separation. And I think that separation helped. Them coming back together, who knows? Sometimes once you've been down a road of mistrust, it's really tough to build that trust up again. But I do think that the scene where Britt Irvin playing Danielle did a wonderful job of sort of opening up and really apologizing for the things that she'd done And I think she deserves a second chance. Whether or not it's going to work out or not, I don't know, or I can't say. but I think that everyone deserves a second chance. And so whether you love Danielle's character or not, I think that everyone deserves a second chance. And I think Connor should see how it goes. And it truly makes him happy, that they speak on each other's levels. And when they really connect, I think they really connect. They haven't found that really strong connection yet, but I think that through all the stuff that they've been through, they're definitely on the road to something. Whether or not it works out, we'll have to see.
Yeah,
We will have to see. I know. I'm still thinking, hoping there's another girl out there for Connor.
There may be. I mean, there's been talks about it, right? I mean, but that's sort of where I have to leave that. But
Yes.
but yeah, no, there may be another go for Connor, but I think that he wants to just explore the relationship with Danielle first and see if there's anything there.
yeah, we'll see where it goes. And
Yeah.
I love how you believe that there are second chances, especially for Danielle. But what do you think of Connor? Does he believe in second chances for Megan? Because this Connor-Megan relationship is somewhat still tumultuous right now. Will Connor give Megan a second chance?
That's a very good question. And it's a question that I can't answer fully, which may answer the question a little bit.
Okay.
In the finale, there is a scene between Connor and Megan where they somewhat hash things out. I wouldn't say they close any books or they get over anything per se, but they take steps in the right direction. I can't really sort of divulge too much on what's said in the conversation and sort of how it comes about. But with that last episode, with the last scene from episode 9, a lot of stuff got brought to the surface, a lot of stuff. And I think it was about time, I mean, Connor's been keeping things inside, I think, for a lot of his life. That's why he moved to New York. He got away from everything, for the early part of his life. You're right. Megan wasn't there. Mick was working all the time. Him and Jess spent a lot of time with each other, just sort of fending for themselves. And I think that Megan's character, and Barbara plays it so beautifully.
Yes.
I think she's really come around to, the mistakes that she's made, whether they be mistakes or not, that her staying in the state that she was in, it may have been more detrimental than the fact that she left. So I think that Connor is definitely in a place where he can forgive not only Megan, but, Mick for his indiscretions, the things that's happened between them and the whole family in general. But there's a lot of mending between Connor and Megan. And I think they're on the road to that. Actually, I know they are. They want that. I know that.
Yeah, road to healing.
Yeah.
Exactly, right. I mean, everyone wants a road to healing.
Yeah, and especially when Megan kept saying throughout all this recent episode, it's like, I came back to heal. I came back to heal.
That's right. Not only herself, but also the damage that she's done with the family. You can see through Barbara's performance that Megan desperately wants to be a part of this family and desperately wants to be there when she wasn't for the majority of their early lives. She wants to do whatever she can to make it up. And I think that's quite admirable.
Yeah, as a mother.
Yeah.
And all this.
Okay, I know you were talking about Danielle, but I remember on Twitter I mentioned that Kevin gave Connor a look when he told him that him and Danielle are back together, and you said that there's a reason he made that choice. So I want to kind of dig into that, Andrew. I'm coming for you.
That's some hashtag BTS behind the scenes stuff.
Oh, okay.
When Brendan and I were discussing that scene, we were sort of rehearsing it a little bit, and because we were in the same hotel and we work out at night. Actually, he drags me to the gym is really what happens, and he pushes me to my limit. But we were having a talk about that scene, and we were sort of wondering, what would Kevin's reaction be to that? Because he's seen this happen. He's seen Connor kind of go through the ringer in this, and I kind of had a little bit of a different take on how I thought that his character would play it. But after we sat down with Michael and with Kirsten and with Brendan, we came to sort of an agreement on where he would think. He's trepidatious. He doesn't want to be like, oh, congrats. You're getting yourself in a position where you may get totally hurt again. He doesn't want to be too disrespectful. So, I think Brendan played that moment, that beat quite perfectly. And yeah, it's something where when you've had hurt through someone, you want healing, but at the same time, you have to do it cautiously.
Yes.
Right. And I think that's very a realistic reaction that Kevin would have, because if you remember, he was the one who warned Connor that Danielle was seeing someone else. So it makes sense that Kevin would be like, oh, you're back with this woman who already cheated, somewhat, quote unquote, cheated on you.
Somewhat cheated. Yeah, that's right.
It was the biggest fight they had.
He was just being a good brother.
Yeah.
He's
He
looking out.
was being a good brother. And, and when we started the season, we started getting the scripts. I called Michael Burns up and I said, Michael, you're bringing Connor back to season 1. He's angry at everybody again. I thought we were getting past this stuff. You know what I mean? Like I want him to be growing. And he said, just hold on. You haven't seen what happens till the end of the season. So, he was mad at everyone to really start. He kind of fell back into his old ways a little bit because of some of the misfortunes that were happening in his life, especially with him and Mick. They had a huge falling out, and then Connor had to sort of, pull up his bootstraps and realize that he needed to get past that. And I think that the scene between Connor and Kevin outside of Sally's, when Connor comes and he gives him the gift of the little army soldier, that was, I think, Connor's way of saying, hey, I made a mistake by not listening to you, whether I agree with you or I don't agree with you. The reaction to what Kevin had to say wasn't the right thing. Me personally in my life, I go by love, gratitude, and empathy. You know what I mean? And as long as you're following that road, then you can't really do anything wrong. And I think that Kevin was just looking out for Connor, and Connor took it in the wrong way because, the character Kevin has always been the hero. He's always been the golden child, as it was, and Connor's sort of been a little bit of the black sheep. So I think that he was falling sort of like, are you just trying to sort of set me up for failure again? Or he was untrusting of people's advice. And I think that scene outside of Sally's sort of let the audience know and let Kevin know that he's opening up to news that may not be that may be difficult for him to hear, but he needs to process that and understand that people are telling him these things because of love and because they care about him, and not just to disregard his feelings.
Right. And it's like, he is, if you remember, he is still kind of young. We have seen a lot of growth and maturity for Connor over these past 3 seasons, so good on you and good on the character. But also yes, and you do have to take into consideration he is still a young man who's still trying to figure out his place in the world and who he is as a person. So I'm more lenient with Connor in that sense when he doesn't react in the best ways, but after a while, you always see him come back, be like, and apologize. Yeah, he's aware.
He comes around, and that is, I think, Connor. In Connor's backstory that myself and the executives have built at Chesapeake, is that he's a character that comes around. That's exactly it. There's he has a lot of knee-jerk reactions sometimes. Like with that scene with Mick with Treat on the beach, when he comes up and he yells at Mick for not telling him about this mistake, even though Mick came and tried to give him another shot at looking at the contract. He has these knee-jerk reactions, and it takes him a little bit of time to really realize that, he just needs to process information and not react with such emotion, he's young and I know what that's like. Connor plays around 27, 28. And back when I was there, I had knee-jerk reactions with that kind of stuff too. So I think that's one of the most interesting parts about Connor is watching his growth. I'm hoping as we, get to do more episodes, that we'll start to see Connor losing that knee-jerk reaction and really coming into his own and being able to give advice, take advice, and just be a more compatible part of the family, opposed to someone who holds a grudge, let's say.
Absolutely, and a lot of character growth.
We have to give, Connor credit for his scenes with Nell, helping being the super sleuth. That was one of my favorites. That was so good. I bet you, do you have behind the scenes about that? Because I bet you there was
sorry?
Do you have any behind the scenes about that scene with you and Nell?
Diane Ladd.
Yeah, Diane.
Me and Diane, that was by far, you know what, it was in my top 3 most fun days on Chesapeake Shores, without a doubt. We were at the termite infested B&B, and it was an absolutely gorgeous day. day, and the majority of the scenes were with myself and Diane. And myself and Diane, we hit it off right off the bat. We're huge. We're friends. When she was out here filming her last movie, we had lunch. She came over. She did a meditation at my studio, and I learned a lot from that woman. She's a very, very wise woman. As we all know, she's a vet in the industry, yes. And more so than film, she's just a veteran at life. She's had such an interesting life. She's learned so many lessons, and that day was I'll never forget that day in my entire life. Until I'm an old actor and I'm gray, and I'll think back to that day that I got to spend with Diane Ladd and just soak in her energy and her wonderful vibes and take in her advice. And I couldn't be more grateful to be working with such talented individuals like Diane, like Treat, like Barbara, like all of my siblings on the show. It's such an absolutely wonderfully talented cast. And this is my first series. And so to be on a series like this where I'm just surrounded by such talent has been not only a joy, but it's just been such a blessing in my life.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of my favorite moments with Connor was actually when it was last week's episode, episode 8, where Connor and Bree were talking about what they remember about Megan when they were younger. And what it was like in the family, and there was that sweet, real, genuine moment where they really don't remember as much, or they remember it was sad. And they had such a great bonding moment. Yeah, and it was beautifully portrayed by the two of you and Amelia.
Thank you. Yeah, that was our first scene up in the morning, and me and Amelia we'd rehearsed it a little bit, and it didn't ask for any actual. I mean, it wasn't scripted that there would be emotion in the scene. I mean, of course, it's an emotional scene, right. But let's say, visual emotion. Like, I didn't expect to cry. I didn't expect for those tears to come up. But as an actor, you work with something called substitution, and you put in another moment in your life that was very sad, and you sort of almost push that through the lines and the scene that you're doing with the other actor, and to bring that emotion up. And when I was talking about that, I had as we all have, an interesting childhood. And so I spent the night before bringing up a lot of those emotions and sort of tapping into stuff that I'd buried for a long time. And it brought some light to the scene as well, because, we talk about how we, as you mentioned, we don't remember a whole lot of stuff, and we block out a lot of that stuff because, as a survival method, really. And so when we sat down, we were working with the wonderful director, Terry Ingram, and we did the two shot, the shot you see last first. Which is usually we start with a master and then we go into close-ups. Right. And in that scene, we just got emotional. We just looked into each other's eyes and the emotion came. And once we had that master, it's funny because Terry said, if this is a feature film, we'd be moving on to the next scene. I just stick in that two shot and we have it, right? So it's a little bit, I wouldn't say daunting, but it was a little nerve-wracking and difficult to bring up, because there's a lot of emotion that came in that first take. But I don't know if many of you know, the audience out there, but we do about 8 or 9 takes after that first take. You have to do everyone's close up. You have to do another wide shot, your specialty shots. And if you bring an emotion in that first take, you have to keep that emotion. So it was a very sort of somber type feeling on set. We're really trying to bring the real on Chesapeake Shores. That's always been our mantra, is just bring the real, bring it as real as possible, with no matter if it's a romantic relationship or bringing up, stuff from the past that hurts. We're just trying to bring the real, and that was definitely a real day. But one actually little funny story was in my close-up in that sort of last take that you see when I look over to Bree, and sort of the emotion wells up at the end. Our props man, Dave, it was our first scene in the morning, and inside we got brand new sets for wordplay and for capital management. And it was like early in the morning, and it was super warm in the studio with all the lights. And in between lines, I hear, and I got tears coming down my eyes. I'm trying to stay in the scene with Amelia, and I'm hearing the snoring in between lines. So I sort of had to time my lines in between the snores. Then I kind of hear like a what? Sorry. So then I was really excited to actually see that scene and see how they were able to cut around the little snores. And Dave came up and apologized profusely, and I held nothing against him, obviously. But that was a funny little tidbit from behind the scenes of such an emotional scene. I'm glad none of the snoring made it into the final cut.
That would have been great.
I love production in that sense, because it really is movie magic, how you have to work around.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. I want to go into a fan question
Sure.
from Zanae Copeland. She said, who's your favorite relationship? And then also, where would you like to see the family go from the end of the scene from last night's episode? So it's kind of like you guys ended very quietly.
We did, most definitely. The
Yeah.
O'Brien family sits in silence once again.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? It's funny. I was actually thinking about my favorite couple last night. It's a real tough one. You know, I love what Bree and Simon have. It's very interesting. I absolutely love the romance and the fairy tale aspect of David and Jess's relationship.
Yeah.
Not to mention, I absolutely adore Lacey and Carlo's acting. I think they're just. I think everyone's brilliant, but I really I've known Carlo for a while. We did an acting class together, and funny, my girlfriend actually did an acting class with Lacey, and when she found out that I was doing the show with her, she said, "I saw a scene with her, and she was absolutely fantastic, and like that's so awesome you're working with her."
Small world.
And of course, and you know, and I love Travi too. I mean, that's the most difficult, obviously, right? That's the one that's had the most ups and downs, the most trepidatiousness, I guess you could say. But if I had to pick, I'd have to say David.
David. Yes.
Joy. You know, and then that's taking, and of course, that's taking Donner or Conyell out of the situation. I don't know. We haven't blended those words together yet. But if I'm not talking about Danielle, and then you're saying sort of after that scene, that's a really good question. You know, now that this manuscript is going to be published by Bree, things can't be kept under the surface anymore.
Right.
And I think that a lot of memories, even though Connor and Jess don't remember a lot of what happened, I think Bree has a pretty good idea on what happened. And so a lot of stuff's going to come to the surface. And what I would like to see in the episode coming up, because I can't necessarily say what is going to come up, and the next season, God willing, is that we really get into the heart of what happened back then when Megan left, why Megan left, you know, just rehashing things that need to be rehashed. I think that was the first scene. I mean, first of all, that scene to film was it was incredibly difficult. You know, especially being like I love Barbara. Barbara, we just did Christmas in Evergreen 2, and whenever I see her, she's just such a sweetheart, and I love her. And so, you know, having looking over at her and having these feelings of hatred or of just contempt and resentment and that kind of stuff. It was really difficult to play. And you know, the scene that you saw, there was actually another take that we did that was much more emotional, you know, and I think it was a little too much. I like the take that they chose for that. But that's what I'd like to see going forward is, you know, now that this stuff is really going to come to the surface through the manuscript, through the book, and also through that conversation, I'd love to see, you know, more healing, more talking it out, more understanding each other's sides, and coming to agreement that the past is the past, and all we really have in control of is the here, the now, which creates our future.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. And I'm looking forward to see where Connor heads into the future with the family, because it seems like they are on the path of healing. They're not quite there, but there is some semblance of hope that they will eventually get there.
Yes.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And you're doing a great job of portraying like the emotional, like I don't want to say awfulness, but like just the emotional roller coaster of what a person in that situation would go through, and those feelings that they're going through.
Yeah, I mean, it hit Connor. Yeah, it hit Connor hard. It hit Connor and Jess definitely very. I mean, again, like I won't go into detail, but I had a very, very interesting child. I was adopted by my father at the age of 9, and I've never met my biological father. And so, you know, playing Connor, it comes quite naturally to me, a lot of his emotions, you know, because I harbored resentment for a while until I was able to open up and release and heal and forgive. I mean, forgiveness is such a huge thing, you know, and especially now opening Zen Den Meditation, my meditation center, you know, forgiveness it's top notch. If someone hurts you or does something to you, usually it's not necessarily about you, you know, it's a projection of something inside themselves. And once you come to terms and you get past that that roller coaster of emotion that comes right away, you understand that really forgiveness is the only road to healing not only the other person, but yourself. Because if you're angry and frustrated at someone, that's going to live in your heart and it's going to permeate through you in different decisions you make in your life until you've really looked it square in the face and you understand the other person's perspective and you say, I understand where you came from. It hurt me, but I forgive you and I'm happy that I'm here with you now.
Yeah, I love that. That's beautiful.
He just preached for us. Amen. Amen,
amazing.
Andrew.
I just have to mention, you mentioned you're adopted. I'm adopted as well, so there you go.
Nice.
So
We have it in common.
I love that. I love that. It's bringing everybody closer together.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so look at that.
I know.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to talk a little bit more about just you and the Hallmark community
Yes.
in and of itself. You just did Christmas in Evergreen too with Barbara,
Yes.
and also Jill Wagner. Love her.
Yeah. Jill, such a pleasure to work with, by the way. I was lucky enough to have. Usually, movies do about 15 days. I think someone did 14, and I was lucky enough to have 9 days on set with such a wonderful cast. With Holly and with Jill and with Rakia and with Mark and everyone. But me and Jill had a lot of scenes together, and she is an absolute riot. And I didn't get to spend a lot of time with Barbara, unfortunately. We only had, I think, 2 days together. But yeah, working with Jill was an absolute treat, and I was honored to be asked to be a part of the film.
Yeah, and we're all looking forward to that. That airs December 1st.
December 1st at 8 p.m.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So tune into Hallmark Channel for that. And you've done other films throughout. You were also in Engaging Father Christmas, also last week, last year.
Aaron,
With
it was so funny, a little bit of When Calls the Heart, Chesapeake Shores crossover.
Yes, I love that. I also cover When Calls the Heart here.
Yeah.
I want to see you in like a leading role, you know? Like, so if you got a leading role in a Christmas movie, who would you want to be your leading lady?
Oh my gosh, that's a really big question. There are so many talented actresses here in Vancouver and Los Angeles, and in the Hallmark family. I would feel. I don't know if I can necessarily answer that question. I would want someone. I can sort of describe the qualities that I would want.
Okay.
I'd want someone who loves acting, who loves to play, to get in the arena. A lot of times, and I learned a lot from Treat this season about this type of stuff, is, a big part of acting, at more than half of acting is listening, right? Because, you can make your choices the night before all you want. And when you get to set, if someone says something different, you need to respond to that person in that way, right? So in choosing a leading lady, I would love to be with someone who's ready to explore acting, is ready to really find the depth and the realness of the character. A lot of Hallmark movies are murder or mystery, but love stories, and just trying to find that true essence of love and that reality and bring that real. So I know I'm dodging the question a tiny little bit, but more so, I'm very excited for the opportunity to have a leading lady and to really show my heart to the audience. And in a lot of the movies that I've played a lot of secondary characters and I'm very grateful for it. But they aren't the person who really gets to put their heart on the line, and that's something as my career progresses and as I grow stronger in the Hallmark family, I'm very excited to take on a role with all of my heart and just bring my true essence and share it with all of you.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you've done a couple Christmas movies now. Is there a certain Hallmark season that you tend to gravitate towards? Christmas or Valentine's Day movies, or heck, even the June wedding films?
I'm a sucker for Christmas. I love Christmas. I guess there's a huge bias here, but I really did love coming home for Christmas last year. Working with Danica was an absolute treat, and with Neil Bledsoe as well. And I got to, that was my closest attempt at getting the girl. I didn't get her in the end, unfortunately. Spoiler alert, sorry. I'm hoping you guys have seen it already.
I have, yes. You were great.
But that was a really good one. But I really love the Christmas movies, and I think that I'd really love to do a Valentine's Day movie, or
right.
I love all the seasons. I'm not I don't necessarily have a favorite. I love them all, and the Hallmark movies that get put out for each season are so sort of on the nose of that season. Mm-hmm. Really, I'm not picky. I love working. I love acting, and I feel that I have something to bring no matter what season it would be. So I can't necessarily narrow down a season, but something.
That's fun. I'm a true believer of if you say it out loud, it will eventually come. So Crown Media, let's make
it happen.
Valentine's film with
Crown Media, I won't let you down.
But you know what? The fans kind of picked somebody for you. Chris Bono. Is that how you say it, Bono? Yeah. I agree with him on this. He thinks Amelia.
Oh, Chris Bono. Oh, yeah. No. I remember Chris from Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amelia.
Yeah.
Amelia to play your opposite.
Oh, that would be really awesome. Yeah, Amelia is.
It would be great.
It would be fantastic.
Yeah.
That would be fun. I'd watch
I'd watch it. Especially
that's
Christmas.
Great. Okay,
one.
everybody, the word is out there.
The word is out.
Me and Amelia, let's do
We're
this.
going to make it happen. Marissa's going to produce it. I'll write it. We got this.
It's out there in the world. It's in the ether.
Yes, it's out there in the universe. And I've also noticed that you've done a lot of voice acting as well. You've had quite the voice acting career. And you're also a brony. I love that.
He is a brony.
He is brony. I'm like, I love.
I just found out what they were.
Admittedly, low key love My Little Pony.
Is that right?
Yeah,
you do.
I really do. I watched it all through. I watched it all through my college years. Not gonna lie.
Oh my
It's
god!
actually great.
For those of you who don't know, brony is not necessarily a bro pony fan.
Yeah.
It comes from I won't go into the details of it, but it was a forum of some sort. It was the B forum, and people went in there to actually slam My Little Pony, mostly men. But they went in there to slam it, and then they realized that they actually liked the show, and so they slowly became bronies, B ponies, bronies.
Yeah.
So we're doing season 9 right now. I play Shining Armor. It's been an absolutely amazing project to be a part of. I've enjoyed being flown all around the world to do conventions and meet some absolutely amazing people. What I love the most about My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, is when I go to the conventions, is seeing the camaraderie between the people that love the show. Because the show, it has a specific audience, obviously children, right? But the audience that it's attracted in the brony capacity are people that sometimes they have a little bit of trouble with social interactions and stuff like that. But watching them at a convention, it makes my heart like so open because they're in their elements, and they're so accepted and all their friends are around and they're seeing people they haven't seen in a while. And when I get to show up and I get to be this like somewhat of a celebrity there and I get to use it in a way where I get to hang out with them and spend time with them and talk with them and I see how much it lights up their face and it makes my heart so full. Like I almost get emotional a little bit because it's just such a blessing to be able to give joy to people's lives, and I'm so grateful to be on that television show and have all the blessings that have come with it.
Yeah, congratulations on that, because that's actually a very successful show. So you get your acting on screen with Chesapeake Shores and all your films that you do, and then you get your voice acting experience with bronies and so many other animation shows that you've done. So good on you for that.
Yeah, another great one was Dino Trucks, which is on Netflix.
That's
I've heard of it.
DreamWorks does that.
DreamWorks and Netflix and DreamWorks original. Yeah. Actually, a little funny story about that one. I auditioned for that role 12 times total.
Wow. 12? Is that
total,
normal for voice acting?
Yeah.
Say again? Sorry?
It's normal.
Is that 12 times that normal for a voice acting?
No, not at all. Actually, lately, I just got back from a voice audition, and a lot of times now they're doing MP3 auditions. And so you'll go in. I have a little voiceover booth here at my apartment, which is down right now, so I went to my agent's office. But now they're just taking, you do a couple takes on MP3, and they choose from that. But that's more on Dino Trucks was an 80-episode buy right off the bat, which is huge. Wow. A lot of times you'll get a 13-episode buy, and that's all you'll ever do. So when you know that you're going to be doing, I think it was 78 exactly. When you know you're going to be doing 78 episodes right away, it's a huge, huge decision, right? And toys run cartoons in essence, right? Yeah. In some respects, not all respects, there's the entertainment value of the cartoon itself, but it's also a bit of a commercial for the toy, So no, 13 auditions is definitely not normal. There was a recasting about 13 episodes in from a gentleman who was playing the role before. who was doing a great job, but they just felt that he was a little bit inexperienced. And there's a large element to doing cartoons that's called ADR, or it's no, they call it dubbing or ADR. I can't remember. But it's where if let's say a line is off, or let's say something is missing, you really have to have a lot of experience in watching yourself and matching your words to the cartoon character that's on screen. Yeah. And I think that the gentleman who had the part before that, he had a little bit of trouble with that. So I came in, I did 3 more auditions when they were recasting it. We told a little bit of a fib that I hadn't been in before. And then finally they had all the writers come up. They redid the first episode. They had Netflix come up, DreamWorks come up. And then in the very end, it was given to me the day before the next record. I heard that I had booked a part, and that was a show that lasted for 3.5 years.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yes.
So from Chesapeake Shores to voice acting, you're a very busy man.
Yes.
And the meditation studio.
Oh yeah, his meditation studio.
You're Zenden.
Yeah, it's Zenden, Z-E-N or Z-E-N-D-E-N meditation. Yeah.
So what, real quickly before we leave, like what brought you to start this? And I know you're big into meditation, but why did you start a studio?
Why did I start a studio? I was living in another apartment while I was filming season 2, and I decided to give up drinking as a personal choice, just because I wanted my weekends back, and I wanted to be in control of everything that I was saying all the time. Going to industry parties and drinking is fun, but at the end of the night, you might not be necessarily as in control of yourself as you want to be, and I needed to do some maturing. Quite frankly. And so I thought that would be a great first step. And in doing that, when you take something out of your life, I was dealing with some emotional pain, and I was using the wrong things to cope with that pain. And once I decided that I was headed down a wrong road, I decided that I needed to put something else in there. And so as I started to meditate, I started to find this oneness, and I started to notice the world around me changing, my communication, my relationships with people, just my everyday life in general. And as I was living in this other place during season 2, a very beautiful apartment that's actually next door to where I am right now, it became available. I was subleasing it, and the building manager said that he only wanted to have businesses move into the building. And my girlfriend, who's quite spiritual, she said she wanted to take one of the rooms and make Zenden, and I was actually going to start a little voiceover training / semi agency type deal downstairs with a few other gentlemen. And when we got out of that meeting, I kind of looked at Carrie, my girlfriend, and I said, I think that we just need to start Zenden. I just had this push from the universe. And I didn't even know as much as I needed to know about meditation and about spirituality to start it, but I just felt this flow that this needed to happen. And it was definitely one of the best decisions I ever made, because now I get to like going into one of those conventions for My Little Pony. When people come in who are truly needing healing, and don't necessarily have sometimes the best social skills, I get to sit down with them, and I really get to talk to them and listen to them and be a friend to them, and I've told them that any time that they ever feel, any angst, any depression, anything, just reach out to me, talk to me. I'm there for you. I've been through it all through my life, and it was just a great opportunity to be a friend to people. So the studio sort of started, in cooperation with my girlfriend, and now I absolutely love it. I love playing the instruments. I love the people, and I just love good vibes. And it's just taught me that, again, it brought me to this mantra of just love, compassion, and empathy. As long as you stick on that track and you deal with every situation and every thought in your head with those 3 things, you can't go wrong. And I don't think I ever would have learned that if I hadn't have opened Zenden.
All right. Well,
That's awesome.
That's beautiful. I think we'll leave it at that, because we really can't top that. Thank you so much, Andrew, for joining us. In the meantime,
thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And if you're ever in LA, we'll have to have you in studio, and we can actually sit down and talk. So in the meantime, where can everyone follow you on social media?
Sure. My let's see. There's a little difference. My Instagram is Andrew Francis 604. And my Twitter is Drew Francis 604.
604. All right. And everyone tweet, Instagram him, so we can keep Chesapeake Shores going for season 4 and see where Connor goes from here, and just see and keep up with you and where you go with your acting career. So.
Well, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me on. I've been watching all your different shows and all all your different YouTube shows on all the different shows that you guys do. And I think you do a wonderful job. Keep it up. And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Andrew.
I know the fans were like a little nervous about me and you chatting, but I think we did a good job.
I think so. I had a great time.
Yeah, that's great. Yep, and we'll talk to you again soon then.
Sounds great. Anytime.
All right, thank
bye.
you, Andrew. And thank you, everyone, for always tuning in every week, talking Chesapeake Shores. In the meantime, Carlina, where can everyone keep following you?
You guys can follow me at Cooking with Carlina, but then on Twitter, it's at Cook with Carlina.
Great, and you can follow me everywhere at Serafini TV. Follow all of us here, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and all those fun social media platforms at AfterBuzz TV, so we can keep getting awesome guests like Andrew Francis.
Yes.
We have one more episode left of the Chesapeake Shores, so we will see you next time.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.